Hey everyone, hi, I'm Eddie Capparucci and welcome back to another edition of Getting to the Other Side. Today, what we'll be talking about is something that is really critical when it comes to not just addiction or betrayal trauma. It is critical for all of us in every walk of our lives. And because we're going to talk about negative narratives, negative narratives, also known as stinking thinking. And basically, think about it like this little critic that sits in the back of your mind, all right, and just spitting out all these negative thoughts and, different ideas to you. And we all suffer through it. We all have it. What varies is the extent that each individual has them. Even I suffer from, negative narrative that come into my mind. However, I also have learned how to be able to, when they come in, recognize them early on and be able to do something with them. And we'll go through and I'll talk to you about that. So again, there are many people who suffer from negative narratives. And I would venture to guess that nearly everyone does. Even people who are very successful, one of the major negative narratives they may face is the idea that I'm really a fraud. That people would, if I don't belong where I am. I'm not that good, and one day people are going to find out. So, like I said, almost everyone. So let me give you an example. I'll give you a handful of negative narratives. One, I'm alone. I feel empty. I'm forgotten. I'm defective. I'm not lovable. I'm a disappointment. That's a huge one I hear quite often from many people. I'm insignificant. I don't belong. That's another big one that we have. I'm a bad person. We see that a lot in the addiction world, especially with the people who have, you know, been involved in activities they should not be involved in. I'm weak. I'm worthless. And I deserve to be miserable. Now, again, those I gave you a dozen of them. There are countless. You'll probably come up with over 100. And different people suffer from different negative narratives. The issue that we have very often is we're unaware that they really exist. And what I mean by that is the idea that this negative thinking, this critical thinking, this judgmental thought processes that we have, they just run amok. They're just running there in the background, and we're just not paying close attention to them. I know for me, if I do something, and it's like I do something, I'm like, that's stupid. That was stupid. And what I do is I catch myself and I say, whoa, stop. Okay, no, it wasn't stupid. You know what? We all make mistakes. It's just a mistake. That's it. Doesn't mean that you're stupid. And I can get that. Now, before I started doing any of this, I had a more difficult time sometimes catching that. And it would just, again, run amok. So, think about it. Okay, so a negative narrative comes into your life or into your world on a certain day. And then all of a sudden, another one and another one. You haven't captured any of these things. And now they just continue to pile up, pile up, pile up. What do you think happens? Your mood shifts. You have a mood change. So therefore, what might have started out with a really good day or a decent day, now all of a sudden it's like it's not that good any longer. And so now our mood shifts, and we're not really aware of mood shift if we're not mindful of things. Now what happens? I need comfort. I need something to help me soothe myself. And now we're off and running. Or go to the other side of it, I am now starting to become more irritable, more angry, more upset. And so now I may not have much in the way of patience. I may not be very understanding. I may find that I can't give grace at all because of it. Not again, that's just two examples of what happens when we allow things just to build up inside of us. So therefore, we're going to long to escape, to run to those addictive behaviors, because what I do, I just don't want to have to think about, these negative thoughts I may be having about myself. They're also a great source of shame. If you think about it, the idea that I'm insignificant, I'm weak, I'm a disappointment. Okay, I mean, those are all shameful feelings to have. I'm not lovable. Right? And with that shame, we know what shame does. Shame to me is the greatest barrier that stands in the way of a person who's struggling with those problematic sexual behaviors being able to manage them. To me, that is the greatest detriment that we have is shame. Because again, we just start to wilt. We go into the background and we're not really doing the work we need to do. We can't get to the other side. So therefore, these are a wonderful source of shame. And what that ultimately does, and a lot of you have been hearing me say this often, my clients have been hearing me say it for the past year and a half, is the idea that of confidence. These prohibit confidence. And if you struggle with problematic sexual behaviors, in which you're starting the process of healing, of getting yourself together where you can manage, you need to have confidence to be able to do this, to be able to pull this off. And the reason being, if you don't, then when anything goes wrong, again, immediately we go back to this stuff that we're talking about right now. And we start to withdraw. We start to pull away, and now we're back to where we were before. I'm looking for some sort of comfort from it. Now, you may not be running off and engaging in some sort of, sexual activity that you did in the past, but you may be doing something else. Maybe you're eating a little bit too much, or maybe you just got to go and you're going to just sleep. It's starting to turn into depression. A lot of other things that could be happening here. But we need confidence that, in a sense that, you know what? Yes, I messed up. I've made a lot of mistakes. However, I've found the path that I need to be on. And I'm on that path and I'm working it hard. And I understand the person or persons that I've hurt, that they're still not happy. They're still struggling. I got it. I'm here for them in whatever way I can be. But I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. Despite what anybody may tell me, despite the fact that somebody may say, you're still a mess. You're still, I'm sorry that you see that. I wish you could see more, but I do believe I'm on the right path. Tell me what you see. What is it that you see that I don't see that I should be doing along that way? We're not going to be, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm good. I mean, that's just arrogance. We're trying to move away from all of that anyway. So let's just find out, what is it that you see that I don't? I feel like I'm on the right path. I feel like I'm doing the right things to heal. But then you sit here and you say, no, you're not. And now I go back to, okay, well, I guess I can't do anything right. I guess I'm never going to get this. I'm always going to be a disappointment. So now see, the cascade starts and we're back. Versus I have the confidence, even though you may not see it, I have the confidence, no, I am doing better. So tell me, what is it that you see that you're not getting? And I'll tell you, in most cases, when it comes to this, what they're not seeing is they're not seeing the confidence. That's what's really happening. They're not seeing that confidence in you. And they're, I explained it to somebody earlier today. Like, well, when does she ultimately trust again? Well, she trusts again. We use the concept, well, when she feels safe. Okay, but how does she feel safe? Well, you know what? She doesn't know what you're going to do when you go back out there in the world, right? Because she's not with you, and she's not going to have a microchip implanted in your head, although maybe. But for the most part, no. Okay, you're out there, alone. She doesn't know what's going on out there. So where does she get to see if you're changing when you're there with her? Are you still engaging in the same types of behaviors that you were when you were acting out? Are you still a person who lacks patience? Are you still a person who struggled with anger? Are you still a person who lies about the little thing? If all that is happening over here and is not changing in this world that she can see, when you go out there in that world, you can imagine that her anxiety, and sometimes it's him, anxiety is going to be very high because I have no confidence in the fact that you've changed. I have none. I haven't seen any. And that goes back to my whole concept of the new guy, the new gal that we've talked about many times in the past. This is where, by displaying your confidence and doing the right thing, despite what people may think or say, I'm doing the right thing. This is where you get to showcase that, where they can say, oh, you are different. You're not lying anymore. You're not withdrawing from me anymore. You're putting the phone down when you come home and you're engaging with us, that you're being curious. Oh, you are changing. So what that does then, it increases the individual's, confidence that, oh, maybe when you go out there, you may do the same, you may do the right thing out there too, when you get hit with whatever temptations are. Because you've demonstrated to me here, you've changed. So now I can have hope that you've changed out there. But if I don't see it here, I have nothing to be guided by at that point. So confidence is very important in what we're trying to accomplish to help us beat back the negative narrative, because all of these things that we're talking about here, all these things that we're putting up there, they're all labels. They're all labels. Okay. Many of you have read the other book I wrote, Removing Your Shame Label. And here, what we're doing is we want to remove these labels. We want to remove a label of a sex addict, a porn addict. Okay. I've been betrayed label. We want to remove those labels, and we want to replace it with the only label that you should have, that I am the prince or the princess of a king, of the king. I am the prince or princess of the king. And if that doesn't give you confidence, I don't know what will. But that's what we want. That's where we want to be, because that's the direction we're trying to take our lives now. Remember, we're not going back to where we were. We're going someplace new. And it has to go there with God right in the middle of all of it. So where do negative narratives come from? Where do these things, you're a baby, you're born, you're not born with all these negative thoughts in your head. Well, they come from past experiences. It could be people, or it could be events. And they could be delivered either very directly, where, parents said, you'll never amount to anything. You are a nothing, and you always will be nothing. Or it could be something that's indirect, that, you do something and somebody rolls their eyes, or they just walk out of the room and don't acknowledge anything, which all of a sudden, whoa, what's that about? And then we start thinking about what they're probably thinking, and it may be incorrect. So again, there's two ways you can get those messages, delivered to you, directly or indirectly, in that sense. I was talking to somebody, I was talking to my sister, talking to my sister the other day, and she's telling me a story. We were talking about growing up, and I told you guys my father died when I was 5. And she shared with me, and I didn't even know it. She shared with me, she said, I was in the room when he died. I was like, what? And what she said was, she goes, yeah, Mom just sent me back to my room, sent me running off to my room. What was really interesting was she said, for years, I felt responsible for his dying. If I thought I did something wrong. And what a horrible burden. And see, that's an indirect way that we get a message. The problem was nobody talked to her later on. Nobody shared with, say, hey, what was that like? I'm sorry that you saw that. What's going on? It's horrible. No, nobody does it. Just like nobody ever talked to me and told me about my father dying. It just, he's gone. So we have to, there were other ways. You might be thinking, well, you know what? I can't remember anybody ever talking to me that way. It may be in a very indirect manner that kind of stuff happened. So how do we fix this? Okay. Well, some people think it's along the lines of positive thinking. Okay. There's the whole concept of, positive therapy. But what that does, if you're going to sit here and you're going to look into a mirror or a camera and say, oh, I'm just a wonderful guy. I'm just an amazing guy. I'm just a fantastic guy. I'm a wonderful guy. You're only operating on the surface level. You're not going down into the subconscious mind where these thoughts are. Because like you said, there's many times you don't even remember where they originated from. You can't recall in some. You have to be able to drill down to figure out where this negative talk happened. Okay, where did it live? And also the idea of using those positive affirmations, like I'm just wonderful, I'm, a good person, could really backfire on you if you don't believe, if you truly don't believe on a cognitive and emotional level. Okay, it could wind up making it even worse because all you do is you're putting a Band-Aid on a wound. So what you really need to do, we have to be able to reframe our thinking. And what you should be focused on is who are you becoming, not who are you. Who are you becoming? And therefore then focusing on that process moving along. Because sometimes you're going to have great weeks on that road of where I'm going. And there's going to be other times when you're going to be not taking very many steps. That's okay. So we look at our negative narratives, and first thing we're going to do is say, let's identify them. What are they? So sit down, start to write them down. What are they? What are some of those thoughts that, pop into my head every now and then? And then think a little bit about where do I think they originated? Where did they come from? Was it an event? Was it a person? Like in my sister's case, that was an event versus a person. What was the event? And then what you have to do is you have to look at these and you have to challenge them. And you have to understand that they are thoughts driven by emotions. That's it. They're just a thought and nothing more. And then go back to, and you guys have heard me say this many times, the whole idea of, so I feel what I feel versus what is real. Okay. I feel I'm not lovable. Okay. What's reality? Well, maybe I don't put myself out there enough to be loved. Right. Maybe the fact that, my spouse is just extremely upset because of what I've done, my infidelity, and it's going to take time for her or him to heal. It doesn't mean they don't love. It's just right now they can't show that love. You have to sit there. You have to kind of walk through all of it, challenge the thinking. What those thoughts and emotions, are they true? And in many cases, you're going to find out, no, they're not. Or maybe it's all based on just one event that happened. And you allow that to define who you are, which is what we can't allow to happen. Because once I have that label, whatever that label it is, I'm defective, I don't want to sit with that label. So I'm going to be looking to run off to either do something that's destructive, or I'm just going to go to withdrawal, or perhaps even be aggressive. It could be that also. So now, okay, I've identified it. I've looked at them. Now I got to sit with it. I have to sit with this. And again, as you folks know, my thought is when it comes to any addiction, what's sitting there at the core of what has happened is the inability to sit with emotional distress. You just can't do it. Don't know how to do it. Don't want to do it. And therefore, what do? I run away. I learned to escape it. I did it as a kid. That's what I learned. I'm not going to think about this, run away. And now we do it again. As adults, we continue that. We need to learn to sit with that discomfort, understand it's not going to kill you, but it's an opportunity for you to process. Okay. Use curiosity. Okay. And say, yes, I'm very fearful. I'm fearful. But then again, the thought is, am I a bad person? Am I really a bad person? That's what I feel like. And it hurts. Stuff. Yeah, I've done bad things. But is it my DNA? Do I have a personality disorder? Am I, antisocial? If you're antisocial, then yeah, you know what? There's something really wrong. There's a very small segment in the population that's antisocial. And even many of those don't do things that are, that devastating to people. They just think they're thinking more highly of themselves than anybody else. So you've got to put it in the right perspective of what is this all about. Learn to be a little bit more compassionate with yourself. It's okay for me to make mistakes. If I learn with my mistakes, I learn. I learn from them. It's okay. Give yourself a break. Understand that we're looking for process or progression and not perfection. And I hear very often, I'm sorry for you who have been betrayed. You're going to get mad at me, but I'm sorry. I hear very often, oh, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking, I just want him to or her to progress. And then doing great. One thing happened, boom, everything, awful. We're never going to get it right all the time. I don't get it right all the time, folks. Like I told you before, I said, we could bring my wife in, we could sit her down here and you can grill her and you can, ask her about, like Mr. Mindful. I'm Mr. Mindful. No, not all the time. Okay. Nope, that's not him. Okay. If he engaging, no, not all the time. I'm not. I didn't learn all those skill sets when I was a kid. I had to learn them as an adult. But guess what? They don't take root the same way they did if I would have learned when I was younger. I continue to try to advance. I continue to try to get better and better at it. I would hope that she'd sit here and say to you, yeah, he is. But she's going to say he's a long way from perfect. And I know I am. I know I am. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. But again, what it's become down to, in my mind, is my intent. Is my intent to do the right thing. And yes, now, I could also make the argument that, wow, you could have all the great intentions in the world, but if you're going to keep messing up, sorry, that's not going to work either for that. So, and the other thing to do here is to journal these thoughts, sit down, write about them, write about the emotions and what's going on with all of it. The other thing you need to understand, I'm going to finish and we'll jump into your questions and stuff and we'll get some comment from Tammy, is that if you look about everything about addiction and healing from betrayal is a battle. Everything's a battle. This is a battle too. This is one of those battles, but they can be overcome. This can be overcome just like the battle to wind up learning how to manage your problematic sexual behavior, just like it is a battle where you can learn how to ultimately forgive. Okay. This is a battle where you can learn how to manage your negative narrative. And I go back and I'll go back to scripture again and I look at, Peter. Here Peter is 3 times he's denying Christ. Okay, not really getting it right, is he? Not getting it right at all. I mean, a total mess. And yet then we see in the next book of Acts, here's Peter, bold, brave, standing in front of the rulers of Israel, saying, I will not back down. I will continue to share the name of Jesus Christ with all. I will continue to heal in his name. I will continue. There is nothing you can do to stop me with the exception of killing me. What gave him that power to do that? How do you go from the power of, oh, I don't know that dude. I don't know, not me. I'm not with him, to do whatever you want to me. I will not stop. The Holy Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit within us. Are you tapping into that? Or are you focusing on it? Are you using it every day in your healing? Because I gotta tell you, that's where the healing really comes. It comes from whether you are trying to, again, learn how to manage your addiction, or you are learning how to, wind up forgiving. We need some supernatural help here. And it's there, but you got to tap into it. We are not powerless. We have a great deal of power because God provides that to us. And we have to use that. We use that along with all the tools that we're taught. We use that along with the community that we surround ourselves in, the good people who've been down the path before and understand all of that. A combination of all of it winds up leading us, it leads us down a pathway of success. So that's all I got for you today, Tammy.
So I have to start with, I am grateful your sister finally talked to you about the burden she's been carrying. I mean, I can't even imagine decades of carrying a burden as a young child, thinking you are responsible for your father's death, and so I'm grateful that she shared that, and hopefully, the two of you being able to process through some of that, she can heal from that as well. So that's when you were talking about, I'm stupid. I always know my, when I start going, you are such an idiot, like my self-talk, like I know exactly where that comes from. I mean, because I've worked really hard on that. But I also have to go, you are not an idiot. That wasn't your best move. I mean, but like I have to unravel. I mean, because that thought, that I'll say it out loud. I'll go, I'll be, oh, you're such an idiot, and then I have to go, no, you're not. I mean, I have to do the whole self-talk back to, that wasn't your best move, you're not an idiot. But I have to undo that, because that still is a go-to, negative talk. And when you're talking about, there's hundreds of them, there absolutely are. You're talking and I'm going, and that leads to this and that leads to that. And so just the awareness that the negative self-talk. And for me, I grew up, and it was I'll share, my dad, was quick to, call himself an idiot. Well, he learned that. It wasn't just him. Like, he didn't start the whole thing. It was the generations before him. So, but I get to be the one that can stop it. I've gotten tools like you're sharing, I'm still a human being. I still have, lots of progress to make, and I'll never get to perfection. That isn't even my goal. My goal is to continue the journey, but I can be the one that can change that. And I didn't have to repeat it, going down the next generation. So for the most part, I can still verbalize those things, and I have to retract. So so I know for sure that if I'm hearing all those negative things, that I need to look at what's going on for me. You know, we've talked before, you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I don't have the bandwidth, you know, I'm having a bad day. Well, what can I do, you know, to change that? I love that you talked about journaling. Harriet Hunter did a journaling webinar on this. There's research about how it
Yes,
changes things. I mean, this isn't
it
just
is.
a, you know, woohoo thing. This is like, there's research on how journaling changes it. And I, you know, I've also aligned it to when we're writing our 4-step, you know, that's kind of a journaling too, because you know, you're writing the things and you get to see it in black and white, and then you can go,
Hmm.
yeah, that's really real.
Yeah,
And I have a place to do it.
it opens up new neural pathways.
Yes, yeah. So there are so many tools and techniques, and yes, grounding and all of that. And yes, when I have the ability to go, oh, I need to do some grounding, great. But sometimes I'm not in that space. I need to, you know, I need to start out there and talk to somebody, and then, you know, and then I can bring it back to that. So we have
All of
bunches
us.
of questions.
I know.
So the first one, I'm tired. My husband is doing groups, but is still sexually avoidant. He went from cheating for decades with people behind my back and even using me to act out sexually to withholding since he had a 2-year affair with a coworker. He's done work here and there since 2012, but only at my insistence. He's been doing a couple groups for about 3 years. And though he's nicer, he's sexually avoidant. He's super helpful. And I found out he's been doing nice things, but
Well, again, you know what? It sounds like all his group work has been helpful to him. And the fact that it doesn't seem that he's acting out, at least again, I don't know, but that's not what I'm getting from here. It's also seemed that he's had some sort of a change in his demeanor, that he's being much nicer, and that, you know, he's being a lot more helpful to you, but for whatever reason, sexually avoidant. That could be shame and guilt on his part. Um, do I dare say, could there be some acting out that's going on that don't know about and therefore he's not interested? Possible, but I don't know. Um, I mean, I could make a point to you to say, hey, you know what? Right now, I'm maybe accepting what you have here and, you know, focusing on those ideas of him being nicer and helpful and pointing a lot of that out and loving on him a great deal, and wondering maybe if that ultimately moves him along, or if not, perhaps maybe we look to see if he would go to a sex therapist with you to talk about the issues of why he is feeling it avoidant in that area. So I don't know, Tammy, what are you thinking?
well, a bunch, because I'm like, yeah, 8-9 years, that's a long time. And so yeah, we've talked about sexual reintegration, and there's lots of techniques, and there could be fear. And I hear that he's done some groups, but what I don't hear is that he's worked with a qualified therapist to address those underlying issues. What are those negative messages? You know, I mean, has, like, none of those groups that you're mentioning, those are, you know, those, I'm not that familiar with them, but I don't think they're 12 steps. So, you know, was there a personal inventory, fearless and moral, fearless and searching, moral inventory? You know, was there an amends? I mean, what was the process? Does he have a sponsor? I mean, you know, has he worked with a therapist to, yeah, like all of the things? And like Eddie, I was kind of going, I wonder if he's looking at porn, you know, so he may not be acting out with people, but if his brain is still offline looking at porn, which is a zillion images, you know, of all new and different. And then, no offense, but you've been together a long time, you know, like my husband's seen me, it's the older version, that's all, it's the older version of the same thing he's seen for decades, you know. So a new image all the time, you know, is really challenging. So to me, and I'm also sad that it's always at your insistence, that he is not taking any
Yeah,
kind of
it's,
ownership of, like, for me, for our relationship, this is what I need to do. It, you know, if it puts you in a parental position of, like, you need to go do this, rather than what are we doing to move our relationship forward?
and
How do
that,
we
you know
move
what?
forward?
Yes, that's a great point that you bring up, because that could also lead to the sexual avoidance also. You know, it's
Oh,
the idea that, you know what, it's like this idea of, oh, my mom, okay, I'm a child and you're treating me like a child. And that could also be playing. I'm not saying it is, but it could be playing there. By the way, Pure Desire is an excellent group. And the one thing I really love about Pure Desire is the fact that they do both the Christian aspect, plus they do exactly what I do and what you guys do. They go in deeper. They want to know why. So if even that group, he's
and I
gotten
have a
some
little
good.
challenge with them on one level because there's too many untrained people that are doing trauma work and things like that.
Yeah,
I think
I,
always select carefully, make sure you know what you're getting. They can be a great support. I wouldn't
I
do that all by itself. I would be
no,
looking for,
true.
yeah, make sure you're getting, I'm like, we aren't the be all end all. Do our drop-in groups, do our webinars, but do 12 step, do Pure Desire, Celebrate Recovery, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Smart Recovery, I know that's another one. So do lots
Many.
and find, find the complete, package that you need. I don't think that I answered an email earlier today, and it sounded like the person was only going to a therapist once a week. That isn't enough, So you need to, what does each person need for their recovery? And when we're reading what we're reading, they're stuck in 8 or 9 years. I mean, oh my goodness, that's
Mm,
a long time to just be,
yeah.
offline. So.
Uh, okay.
Okay, so I'm a betrayed partner of a sex addict, discovered 2 years in November. He has no therapist, but attends a Zoom group a couple of days a week. He has recently attended the doctor and has been given antidepressants. I've had therapy and feel I can cope with his histrionic acting out. I struggle being treated like a perpetrator, like I'm the parents and damaged him. It pains me that he seems to have so much time, kindness, support, and great advice for everyone else, that he can barely even say goodnight, and now most definitely doesn't want to know if he loves me. His honesty can be brutal now, only with me. I'm going through menopause, that's like a whole nother thing. I can
Mm,
ask or expect for any support, but his needs trump mine. Am I being impatient? 2 years? Heck no. He sounds like he hasn't, well, I'll finish. Am I being impatient, expecting too much at this stage? This is hard. I'm getting nothing from this relationship at present, but keep thinking with help, he will overcome the issues. The oldest cliche in the book. I know. Thank you.
what help? What even a Zoom group a couple days a week? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, bravo about the antidepressant. That might help somewhat there, but obviously the things that are going on here, he still have a great deal of his own work that he has to do, especially in the idea of his need trumping yours, his emotion trumping yours. But again, I think you guys also may need, to be sitting down with a marriage counselor to be kind of sorting out what some of these issues are. Because the one thing I'm trying to get a sense of, like you said, I can, I feel like I can now manage and cope with him, but I just don't know what his acting out is at this point in time. So I don't have enough detail, but I will say this. I'll say, one, no, what Tammy said is definitely right. You're not being impatient. Two, no, you're not expecting too much at this stage. I mean, by this stage, the 2 years that he's in recovery, you should be seeing the new guy now. And you're not seeing the new guy, which means that the recovery work he has done has not worked for him the way it should at all. And therefore, he had to go back and do the right work that he needed to do. And that means having that qualified therapist along with a group. Okay. And that's where it has to begin. And then also the fact of here to, work on the issues that you guys may have together. So that's where I go.
Yeah, so much there. We talked to somebody yesterday, and it was very similar in that he's a great guy and everybody loves him because he's got this whole persona out in the world, and then he comes home and then it's Mr. Not Nice, and so not okay. I mean, who we are in recovery, it doesn't matter who's watching us and who's seeing us. We are congruent, we are the same person, and it is, we treat people with kindness, we do the best we can to be,
I'll give you a
good
word.
people.
I'll give you a word. Resentment. He has a lot of resentment.
Well,
I don't
and
know. I don't know who he has it to,
yeah,
but she's getting it.
yeah. Well,
That's what's
and
happening.
and attending a few groups a week is is not doing the work of a 12-step. There are
Right.
steps, you do the work, and then you have the promises come true. But if you just go sit your tushy in a meeting and that's all you're doing is like watching and yakking a little bit, that's not change. And 2 years from discovery, what I don't hear is any recovery. I hear maybe he's not acting out, but I mean, this sounds like the dry drunk to me. It's like, I'm not drinking, but I'm just as nasty as I was, so nothing's really changed. So
Right.
to me, what safety boundary do you need to have, and what do you need to ask for? You're being too kind to him to let him get away with this type of thing.
Right.
So what do you need for your safety? That nasty talk to me would not work.
Right.
So
she need boundaries, and you may even need
and support.
ultimatums. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Join the trade partner group at 12:30 today Pacific time. So
There you go.
my husband says he's on the right path, yet he is struggling to finish his first step. Oh my goodness. And he still goes to the old behaviors, not sexually acting out, but the lies, the anger. How can I help him gain confidence?
It's not you. You're not supposed to be the one helping him gain confidence. He needs to get in front of a counselor to help him gain confidence. Again, the idea that, okay, I don't know how long it's taken him to do his first step, but still the fact that the lying, the anger, again, all bad behaviors, that is not the transformation of the heart. We're not looking to just get rid of the bad behavior. We're looking to understand why you engage in those bad behaviors, because it is through those same reasons that I lie and that I'm angry. We're trying to get rid of everything. We're trying to change everything. And it's not for you to be the one to give him the confidence there. He needs to find it from an outside source. He needs to be able to, again, obviously he's doing some sort of 12 step, but he needs someone else who's going to be sitting there directing and guiding him. Yeah, you could sit there and say, hey, I'm really proud of you for the fact that you're doing your step, but then lying and being angry with you, how are you going to sit there and start to promote confidence in him? So I don't know, Tammy.
I'm 100% with you. Like you can't give him confidence. Him working the steps, and I'm sorry, but the first step is my life is unmanageable. Like his life is unmanageable. Like what more does he need to be proven that and he'll try to take control back again. But if he starts working the rest of the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the searching and fearless moral inventory. This keeps coming up today. That's where the meat of the program is. You have to do that work in order to be, free of this and to learn how to do life differently. But if he's only going to, a couple of meetings, then I would encourage you to set a healthy boundary of this is what I need to see. And it's tangible, not like you quit lying 100%. He can't yet. But what I need to see you going to meetings. I need to see you working with a qualified therapist, not just a generalist. I need to see, these are the things that I need to see you doing. This is action, not lips moving. I'm on the right path. No. So get safe boundaries for you and join us at 12:30 today. So, okay. Avoiding talking about his, this goes back to the other person.
The other one. Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Avoiding talking about his.
Go to the bottom of it. He says he doesn't feel confident having sex after what happened. This goes back to what you were saying before, Tammy. You brought that up. And sometimes, yes, that is. Sometimes you can't jump back into sex. It's been so long. But some people can't. And you just keep putting it off, and then you're not doing it. You need somebody who's going to walk you through the very steps. There's innate exercises. There's
Mhm.
different approaches that can be taken that slowly get people back
Mhm.
into being sexual. And that's
Mhm.
what has to happen here.
Yeah, Bill and Ginger Burkaw did a sexual reintegration podcast on sex, love, and addiction. So check that one out.
Yeah, check that
Okay,
out and use that as a first stepping stone.
exactly. It's not the be all end all. It's just,
Right.
it will give you guidance and there's a workbook with it and whatever. So, and there's therapists that can help you. Okay, how do you fix trauma? Oh, that's a good question. If you have carried it all your life, I am in my 70s. I got involved sexually acting out in my late 50s. Is it too late for me to change? No. I felt comfort from my wife, then more trauma happened, and I just don't trust she can help me. So I acted out in a couple of and am couples therapy. Will it take time?
Well, the thing is that Tammy's right again, that no, it's not too late. You can change. But what you need to do is you have to be able to process that trauma. Okay. And you can't process it on your own. And feeling comfort from your wife, but again, she's traumatized too by what has happened. And that's why, again, you need to find somebody who is going to be able to walk you through. And again, go get my book, Going Deeper, How the Inner Child Impacts Your Sexual Addiction. That's what that does. It walks you through various types of traumas that you may have, whether they be abuse or neglect. So, and use that to start to understand more about, okay, this is why I act the way I do. And once you understand that, you're empowered to be able to move away from, when you feel that desire for that behavior, you can say, no, no, no. The reason I want to go there is because right now I'm feeling like I'm abandoned. I feel like I'm all alone. So no, no, but that's not the case. That's not reality. So I don't need to go there. So anyway, that's where I would start. And also, again, leaning on a therapist to help you there too.
But not a couples therapist, because in a
No,
couples
no,
therapy, the coupleship is the client. So I would advise you to get a therapist for you that can help you with your trauma. And there are different modalities of working through trauma and processing through that. But if you're reading Eddie's book, make sure you've got a therapist to work with, because
yes,
something may come up and you may feel triggered. So you really want to have the support from a qualified
right,
therapist to help you with that. So, but a
yeah.
couples therapist is
Oh, we also have the goingdeeper.co group too. So I mean, there are people in there. They've all read the book, do it, and there's different therapists that are in that group too, clinicians who are helping along the way. So look at that.
my husband says he is trying, but still does not always accept my feelings and gets defensive. He says he is turning to God, but behavior shows differently.
Okay, but that's an issue. That's one of the biggest issues that we have. When it comes to this situation where those who have betrayed, you know, can't sit with those feelings, enough, and therefore they do get defensive. Um, I think there are a couple things. One, is he doing the work that he needs to do? Again, I know we sound like broken record today, but folks, this is really important. You can't do this alone. You just can't. So if he's getting help from somebody who could show him also what you're going through. So that's the other side of the coin too. You have to understand that when he starts getting defensive, he stops seeing your pain and he starts seeing hostility. And he has to be able to shut that down and say, no, it's her pain. So he needs somebody to be able to, and I know that, sex and relationship healing have a lot of great resources that, you guys could tap into, that he can learn more about what you're going through in this regard. But it's really good to have somebody who he can just do his work, but at the same time, help teach him what you need. Let me tell you, when I first start working with any client, I'm telling you, Tammy, the first couple months, most of my time is spent teaching him how to deal with what she's going through, explaining what's happening here. Because all they're looking at is just saying, I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble, I'm in trouble, keep beating me up, keep beating me up. No, she's not beating you up. She's grieving. She's grieving. Yes, I know it doesn't look like grieving, but that's what it is, grieving. And you have to allow her to grieve. So anyway, that's
Well, and here's what I'm trying, that's what I read in this.
nice.
And actions, it really is about actions. And with all due respect, my beliefs and faith, the fourth and fifth step, you write out the fourth step, you share it with a human being. So prayer is an important part. Great. I love all of that. But if it's like, oh, I'm praying about that. I prayed every day in my active addiction that my
Mm,
addiction would be removed. And guess what? It wasn't until I connected with other human beings that showed me how to do it. And
mm,
then it didn't magically go away, but they showed me that there was a path, and I could learn to do things differently. So if it's just he's solitarily working on this,
mm.
it is unlikely to be successful. So
Yeah.
the next one, last night my wife made me feel humiliated and I
Mm.
went to bed really angry. This morning I journal and I told my wife how she made me feel. I've used the tools that Eddie has provided me with this webinar. Right now I feel better and we can move forward. Thank you, Eddie. You've been a blessing in my life.
Well, I'm glad. So, Tammy, what was the emphasis on you made me?
Nobody can make me feel anything. No, 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 you can do everything you want to make me feel humiliated or whatever, and I can choose to or not.
It goes back, what does that go back to? It goes back to confidence, and it goes back to what the label is that you wear. Okay. So no matter what she said to you, okay, what you did was you allowed that to define you. Yeah, I could see you being hurt. You could be hurt by what she said and say, you know what? I'm sorry. That's really uncalled for. Those kind of things. And like you did, you shared that with her this morning and you journaled. You did the right thing with that. That's wonderful. I appreciate that. But Tammy's right. You know what? If we take it in, if we absorb it, and now it changes my mood, it changes everything about me. That again, you're going back into the addictive behaviors because you're going to want to run and seek comfort. Right now, you're at a place that probably you don't need to do that. Great. God bless you for your work and what you're doing. But try again that confidence that I'm sorry, she cannot define who you are. Remember, we wear one label. You're the prince of a king.
And what happens if last night, when whatever was the interaction was, if you'd gotten curious and say, I want to understand what you're saying. Can you share where this is coming from? Or I love this one. Kristen Snowden has shared this. The story I'm telling myself, when you are saying this, the story I'm telling myself is that you want me to feel humiliated or angry, or I mean, whatever. But I would invite you to look at it in a different way. And I have to, even though I don't want to, I'd rather blame other people for making me mad or whatever. I have to own that I'm angry and I've chosen to be angry or humiliated or whatever negative in the moment, and I have a choice and I can do it differently. So I'm glad you're here. I love that you've journaled and you're finding a path through it. I'm going to invite you to think, the next time this happens, and it will, is there something I can do in the moment to do it differently so I don't have to go to bed angry? So,
Right.
okay. My husband says he's feeling forced to go to SAA meetings and therapy when I communicate to him that seeing him actively engaged in these things for his recovery at the very least helps to build trust. I understand that I can't make him do these things, that this has to come from them. What are some other ways besides meetings and therapy that he can show he is working on his recovery?
Here we go. Okay, this is, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be hostile. Okay, I don't mean to be um, uncaring. There's no shortcuts. Okay, he doesn't have the option to be able to negotiate, to bargain. What is going to work best for me? That's what he's saying here. Saying I want what's going to work for me. And he's not being outwardly focused. That's the problem. Forget about the idea that he's not going, doesn't want to go to the meeting, doesn't want to do that. Forget that. The problem is he's inwardly focused. All he cares about is that my needs get met, what's comfortable for me, and he's not looking outward. That is what you should be concerned about. That's the big thing, the selfishness that's there. And then to be able to say, what are we going to do about this selfishness? Because obviously, you know what you want is so much more important than what I need. And that is where you have to have that kind of sense of what is this relationship I have right now?
Yeah, and I was thinking, when and this happens fairly regularly, how long do I have to go to meetings until you want to go to meetings? And then you want to go to meetings,
Right.
but it's kind of a cliche in the 12 steps. It's like, so what are things he can do? Like, it would show you that he's changing if he wasn't blaming you for him having to go to
Right.
meetings and therapy. So his very words of blaming are showing you that he's a long ways from that.
Long
Dr.
way.
Rob wrote Out of the Doghouse. That's a pretty practical, and Dr. Rob says you can choose to not do these things, but then plan on giving up the relationship, and that it's always a choice. So we have a sex and porn addiction level 1 work group starting September 1st. That's a great foundational piece. And it talks about a relapse prevention plan. I mean, it's a really good foundation that starts again September 1st. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 90 minutes facilitated live, not just video. So I mean, that would be a really good opportunity for him to connect with other men in the group and be guided through the process. It's been an eye-opener for a number of people. So,
and I'll say something else here about this one, because I just saw something in chat that Susie was sending about husband procrastinates everything. He'll watch videos, but he won't do anything else. And what you got here is also shame. Shame is a big driver here. And therefore he doesn't want to be at those meetings. He doesn't want to go to the therapist. He doesn't want to think about this. He doesn't want to think about it. He wants it to be done. Let's move on. I'm not going to do it anymore. And let you. But that's the same behavior that got him into the first place. I don't want to sit with this emotional distress. Instead, I just want to run away.
So the next one's I have strong feelings on. Big surprise. My husband will let me do sexual acts for him, but does not want to attend to my needs.
The only thing I could say is, why are you even in that relationship? So Tammy, I'll give it to
I was
you.
like, why is he letting?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's letting you do this for him. But so I'm sorry. And like, this is going to sound harsh. But he can pay somebody to do things for him. I mean, that's what escorts do. So if it's a relationship, it's a mutual. And how do the two of you, how do you have a mutually beneficial relationship? So I'm sorry, but that would be, he's emotionally immature, or he's all
Very
about
much
him.
so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
That is the least of your problems that you have there. You really have to open up your eyes, folks. If you've been betrayed, you got to open up your eyes, and you have to look, and you have to see if the effort being made that he or she is looking to say, yes, I care about your needs, I care about your desires, I care about what you want, and I'm trying to put them before mine. Now, at a lot of times when they're doing this for the first time, they may not do it right all the time. Okay, got it. But as long as you see the effort that is happening, and it continues to grow, and it continue to get this sense of, people, it becomes more of a standard for them, then you're in good shape. Wow,
We
we
are,
still got a ton of questions.
yeah,
We're out
and
of
we're not going to
time.
get to all of them. So, so I'm going to do the next one because they came in order. So as the betrayed
Okay.
partner, how do you fight the thoughts every day of comparing yourself to women, prostitutes that your husband cheated on with? Thoughts of not being enough for my husband, basically throughout my day. What can I practically
Yeah.
do to
Okay.
combat these negative thoughts?
Okay. You know what? First and foremost, what I would tell you is I could replace you with any other woman in that marriage. Okay. Take you out. I'll put any other woman in there. He would have done the same thing. He would have done the same exact thing because it's not about you. It is about his disorder, and you did not have a chance. Part of it is that maybe he didn't realize what was his disorder. He didn't know what he was dealing with, but it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with him. And I mean that sincerely. That is not just, oh, here's an answer to make you feel better. It's not. I tell you, I could pull you out and I could replace anyone, the most gorgeous, sexiest woman in the world. He still would have done the same thing.
And the in the work group, this often comes up. And was your affair partner, or were the escorts prettier than your wife? No. Were they smarter than your wife? No. Were they funnier than your wife? No. I mean, like, it's no, 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 no. It's just, it's transactional, it's easy. What I mean, I am 100% with Eddie. This is not you. It is completely him. But I hate when partners hear too much detail, like they get the gory details, and so then now they've got the image stuck in their head of what this person looks like, and any person that resembles that they see on the street is a trigger. So it is really why having a disclosure in a certain way is helpful. You need the useful information, but you don't need those images stuck in your head
And that's only
forever.
that's only part of the answer to you. The other
Mhm.
part is for you to start doing work so that you feel better about yourself. Again, are you seeing a therapist? Are you seeing, someone who specializes in betrayal trauma? Because that's what
Yes.
you need. You need
Yeah.
that so that they can talk to you about the fact that this is not you. This is him, and build up your self-worth so you can put that right label on you. You deserve that. You
And do some
deserve that.
trauma work. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's real body work that can be done, that or yeah, EMDR. I mean, there's trauma work that can be done so that you aren't having that physical, visceral reaction to everything. And I mean, so there is help and support for you. And I promise, if it's a journey, and you can't magically get to the other side or stuff this stuff away, but you can get through this with support. There is healing. So
Yes. So,
we are out of time.
yes.
Thank you so much. I will see you in September. I can't believe I'm saying that, but
No.
for all of those, you come back next week. Kristen Snowden. So they switched this week. So Kristen Snowden will be here next week. So bye,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.